opponent is Isidro Rodriguez. Now, this is going to be on Titan FC 44 and UFC Fight Pass. You had an amazing debut. How do you see this one playing out? Do you have a vision of how this is going to play out for the May 19th fight?
Yeah, I mean, I've gone through multiple scenarios in my mind. Obviously, I kind of, seen his body type. There's not a lot of footage on the guy. So it's not a ton for me to go off of. But, the biggest thing is I visualize dictating the fight the way I want to. There's plenty of footage on me. So it's it won't be really much of a surprise. Seeing what I'll be bringing to the table. But you can expect me to do what I do best, and that's generally dictate where I want to take the fight and dominate in that fashion.
So there's been a lot of people waiting for you to come up to turn pro. Even Tyrone Woodley, when you won a couple of years ago when you were 21, 22, he was even quoted saying on the Columbia Daily Tribune, he said you're a great fighter for a young kid. You're pretty relaxed in there. You're really composed, and you really don't see that with young fighters. What do you practice? You do Tai Chi? You do yoga? What keeps you so calm inside the cage?
Well, I think I'm a pretty chill person overall, but I really like to be comprehensive in every area of the sport, so not only be well versed in the sport specific areas of MMA, boxing, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, etc. But I want to be strong and conditioned as well, so that's where strength and conditioning comes into play. So things like yoga and flexibility. I'm a very spiritual person. Obviously, my fighter nickname is Soldier of Christ. So being prayerful, comes into play, and that in essence is a form of meditation. So I do have peace, going into the cage each time. I've accepted the possibility of every negative outcome that could happen to me, and I'm all right with those things. So walking in, there's really nothing to fear. There's nothing special or spectacular about the competition ring itself. I'm just going in and doing what I love. So
we have a lot of people out there that are tuning in that practice yoga or meditation themselves because they got a boss yelling at them or whatever the case is. On those days that you do meditation and yoga, do you keep those separate from your training days where you're like, getting your adrenaline up? You just take a day to just relax? What's your game plan when you do go in there to practice that kind of relaxation?
Yeah, I mean, I have specific times of the day that I'm training specific things. So if I maybe morning time, for instance, waking up and maybe I start the day just by moving a little bit. Start the day with some prayer, reading scripture, deep breathing, deep thinking, and then maybe I go into training. I'm not really an adrenaline type of person. Even in practice, there's times where we have to, do fight simulation type sparring, or, we get amped up and things like that. But I think being in a constant, sympathetic state, where you're ramped up and, adrenaline going all the time, it's not super beneficial, all the time, So, I keep them separate to a degree. There are even times maybe during strength training where you have to be mean. You have to, maybe have to move a heavier load, or maybe you have to be very fast or deliberate. You take that, but then afterwards, practice bringing yourself back down. You only need to be hyped up for a certain amount of time, and then it's time to come back down to reality. And there are other things to address in the outside world, besides getting punched in the face.
So it kind of sounds like you practice your adrenaline, so to say. I don't know the right word for it, but it seems like you really practice your energy levels a lot. You think that has a lot to do with your success as an amateur and moving on to your pro career?
Yeah, that's something, I live in Texas now, but my old coach back from Missouri, Rob Hewlett, he was always talking to me and our team about, different fighters. And it was just kind of a common discussion in the gym, talking about the guys who perform well in the gym, but they can't seem to flip the switch when fight night comes. And it's, not being able to handle that kind of adrenaline rush, not knowing, they have a big adrenaline dump, or they're so overwhelmed with nerves that they can't really perform, and so, fortunately the amateur experience, prior to Worlds and then during and after prepared me to handle my emotions and, manage my stress and, accept all these things that you go through psychologically leading up to competition, so now it's not something that has power over me.
Well, I was doing a little research on you, man, and I've known about you for a little while now, and I know one thing about you is that your childhood, you had a pretty tough time in school, in middle school, and we have a lot of young kids that tune in to Pure Evil MMA, and they love hearing from the fighters and the inspirational stories they have, and I think yours is definitely special, especially now with social media around. I mean, imagine being a kid and there being Facebook, as you know what I mean, people picking on you that way. It's a whole different type of thing. What's your what can you say to anybody out there that's experienced any type of bullying right now to just keep their heads up? Because we all know once you're at high school, it's the world's wide open. People tend to think it's all over in high school, and it's not the truth.
No, it's actually funny. So I was having a discussion about this yesterday. A guy I met, we were just kind of talking about how moving into like the big boy world, whether that's in corporate, how it seems like you prepare yourself to, you endure all the drama and, bull crap, if you will, in high school, the bullying, immaturity, to go to school, to then get into the corporate world and you're kind of right back there, where there's, office politics or things like that, so, my words of encouragement would be, it's up to you to decide how you respond to things. And you can't change people, but you can change how you respond to things. You can change you can change how your interactions go down with other people as well, by how you carry yourself. I was very unconfident, I had a very low self-esteem, during those times when I was picked on and things like that. And, unfortunately, everyone to some degree is going to deal with bullying. They're going to deal with low self-esteem, depression, ups and downs. So it's accepting that that's kind of a part of human nature, and learning how to self-talk, positive self-talk yourself, out of those moments, just accepting that, some people are just really crappy, just, having a general love for mankind. I think humankind is a start. And then, moving forward from there, having confidence in yourself and just learning to smile at the bullcrap, at the end of the day.
Because, man, it's so crazy now with social media. You see so many kids getting picked on, being afraid to express themselves, but at the same time, it's so cool because now people actually are able to express themselves, but there's always haters, no matter what it is, whether you're Ronda Rousey, Conor McGregor. You could be a 2-division champion, there's still people out there doubting you, which is absolutely crazy, right?
Yeah, no, it's astonishing. So the same people that'll hop on, and that's the thing, people want to associate with winners, with they want to associate with people who are doing the things that they don't have the confidence to do.
Yeah.
And so, but the second those people get derailed, they're the first ones to hop off the train and badmouth them because, I guess it makes them feel good. So you just have to remember too that people like that, they probably have their own crap that they're dealing with, their own self-esteem issues or demons, and it's real. They're not any better or confident than you are. They're probably compensating for other things that they're dealing with, and that's their way of boosting themselves.
Till this day, man, I'm 27 years old. There's still people out there doubting me. I've had a successful year. I've come from behind. You have people doubting you all the time, I'm sure, and it just never ends. And like you said, it's how you react to it and how you kind of build from that. So definitely some great words of advice to anybody out there because it never ends. You're just gonna have to be able to react to it a little better. And the world's not over after high school. It's open doors there. And it's just crazy, man, because somebody's next in line. For what you want, somebody is next in line. So why not you?
Yeah, that's very true.
So another thing I wanted to ask you about before we let you go, of course, we're going to finish off talking about your fight, but this whole DC towel controversy thing, have you ever seen anything like that before? I mean, we've seen it in boxing before. It's amongst the fighters, but a lot of people were freaking out about it. What's your take on all this?
Yeah, it was funny because I was talking to my fiance about that when I saw it on, it was blowing up all over social media. So I kind of tested it out myself. I was like, I've never thought of that before. That's not something that's ever crossed my mind. Like, oh, I'm having trouble with weight. Let's see if I can, get on the towel a little bit. But I can see how, if especially if someone's in on it, you can maybe fudge the scale a bit. But I'm glad the fight happened at the end of the day. I think the UFC and I think the sport of MMA in general still has, that there's some growth to be had in this whole weight cutting thing that's been going on. Is because clearly, there are some fighters that have it down, and and kudos to them, because at the end of the day, it's no excuse. If you sign a contract, as part of your job,
Yeah.
that'd be like a doctor, showing up to surgery without his tools, like, oh, it's no excuse. Oh, my bad. Oops,
You're
can't do the
unprepared.
surgery. Oops. So you,
Yeah.
it's kind of the same scenario. You sign a contract to make said weight. You got to make it. And if and there's, at the end of the day, if you're struggling or having trouble, that's going to be up to you. Kind of look back in time, like, what could I have done differently, to have avoided this issue. What can there be done, this issue? That's kind of hard. I don't know if that's even for me to say at this point. I mean, if it did aid him, it was, if he was cheating in essence, though, I mean, what should be his repercussions for that? I'm not sure.
And it's so weird because Rumble retired too, so the whole
Yeah.
thing was just a mess. But it was said and done with. It was just a weird moment because I've never really seen anything like that done in front of us, and it was just a really weird thing. So honestly, man, DC, he deserved to get that belt back. He defended the belt once again against Rumble. It's just sad to see Rumble go because anyone else he beats. So it's just it's
Yeah.
such a shame.
Yeah,
Such a
no,
shame.
it was odd. That was odd too. The retirement thing, and between the towel thing, him retiring, good job, bud, and uh, yeah, it was just very odd indeed. So it's sad to see Rumble go for sure. He definitely he has a lot to offer to the sport. He's a devastating knockout artist. Definitely one of a kind for this generation of sport right now. So hopefully we'll see if he has more to offer. If not, I mean, kudos to him for being man enough to stick it out in there and kind of speak for himself and say, hey, I have more that I believe I can offer to the world too. I mean, good for him.
So before we let you go, man, I want to jump back in your fight really quick. It's crazy. It's on Titan FC. You got so many people tuning in on UFC Fight Pass. Have you been able to see kind of a reaction from people reaching out to you after your first professional fight already?
Yeah, I mean, I just between friends, family, fans, I mean, everyone's been really excited. I think for them to, especially because we have our own, like, kind of our own, like, posters made for the event and things like that. I think it was super cool for everyone who did believe in me and follow me from amateur fight #1 until now to kind of see that happen. So I've got some really positive responses going in there. My family, they always supported me. They're always concerned, obviously. And but yeah, I mean, I haven't, outside of that, has been nothing that I would, nothing else new that I wouldn't have expected, other than, continued support. We're excited for the next one. That's all I'm really hearing.
Was there anything that surprised you? I mean, fighting under the Titan FC banner for your first fight, was it everything that you kind of expected?
Yeah, no, I mean, they ran the event really, really well. Crowd had really great energy. Lex and Daniel K, those guys, they took care of me, man. I mean, I was honestly, I was truly surprised. We had so much trouble finding an opponent for that first fight. I was truly surprised and impressed and grateful at the amount of work they went through to provide me with someone to step inside that cage with in that fight in January. That was astonishing. So that was the one thing that surprised me. Outside of that, the fight game for now is still as predictable as I think it's all always kind of been. You're always going to deal with whether it's some shady characters or just drama or whatever, you're going to deal with that. But I was astonished at the amount of care I received. That really blew my mind.
Thank you so much, Willem, for coming on Pure Evil MMA. What we like to do at this point in the interview is to hand the microphone over to you. If there's anything that you want to say to your opponent, wish them the best of luck, anything at all, sponsors, shout outs, the floor is all yours.
Yeah, man. Cedro, if you get to watch this, man, train hard. I look forward to testing myself and fighting the highest caliber of opponent that I can. So rise to the level of the event and rise to the level of competition you believe that I am, and I will do the same. I want to, shout out to CMMG, Black Rifle, and Conquest Off-Road. The people there, you guys are great. Thank you for continuing to pave the way for me to, pursue my dream, as well as VEI, here in Texas, and all my new family. Coaches, family, friends, you guys know who I am. You know who you are. Thank you for your continued prayers and support. keep believing.
And man, who are you training with right now? I saw a couple of familiar faces that you train with.
Yeah, my new home here in Texas is War Room, kickboxing and MMA. So I have Stephen Wright, Johnny Hendricks, Razak Thunder Judo. He just made his UFC debut earlier this year. So I have those guys, and then some other really good athletes that are next generation MMA. So it's here in Plano, but it's been awesome, man. It's been an awesome transition.
Such an exciting time for this sport, man. Thank you for coming on Pure Evil MMA, and most of all, best of luck, best of skill. Come Titan FC. We wish you best of luck, brother.
Thank you very much. You take care.